In the final section of Unit 2, we will discuss the organizational structure of ICS. A key component of ICS is that it's modular in its organizational structure by design. As incidents expand, the ICS organization can also expand as necessary for the type, size, scope, and complexity of the incident. The ICS organization builds from the top down. When needed, sections can be added to this organization, and each section may have subordinate units. This modular concept is based on the following considerations. First, the organization matches the function or task to be performed. 2. Staffing is made only for those functional elements required to perform the task. 3. Span of control guidelines are always maintained. 4. The function of any non-activated organizational element is performed at the next highest level. And 5. Organizational elements are deactivated if they are no longer required. Incident complexity is the combination of involved factors that affect the probability of control of an incident. Many factors determine the complexity of an incident, including, but not limited to, the area involved, threat to life and property, political sensitivity, organizational complexity, jurisdictional boundaries, the values at risk, weather, strategy and tactics, and agency policy. Incident complexity is considered when making incident management level, staffing, and safety decisions. As an incident grows, stabilizes, or ramps down, there are plenty of options for expanding or contracting the ICS organizational structure. Although there are no hard and fast rules, it is important to remember that only functions and positions that are necessary should be filled. Each activated element must have a person in charge, and an effective span of control must be maintained. While the incident commander position is always filled, and others are only filled as needed, there are situations, such as a hazardous materials incident, that require other positions, such as the safety officer, to always be filled. Next, we'll look at delegation of authority and why it's important to the ICS structure. First, delegation of authority helps maintain a manageable span of control for the supervisor. Second, delegating may also motivate personnel by giving them a sense of responsibility for and ownership of activities for which they have been given authority. Delegation of authority is also important for allowing the ICS organization to be expanded easily from a very small operation for routine incidents into a larger organization capable of handling catastrophic events. It is also important to remember that a basic ICS operating guideline is that the person at the top of the organization is responsible for a task until that responsibility is delegated to a subordinate position. Delegation of authority leads to span of control. Span of control is an ICS concept that describes the ratio of individuals supervised to the number of supervisors. Span of control is accomplished by organizing resources into teams, divisions, groups, branches, or sections. In ICS, an appropriate span of control is a ratio between 3:1 and 7:1, or between 3 and 7 individuals being supervised by one person. Now we'll review the ICS organizational components. The ICS organization is typically structured to facilitate activities in 5 major functional areas: command, operations, planning, logistics, and finance and administration. Next, ICS is adaptable to any emergency or incident to which domestic incident management agencies would be expected to respond. Finally, ICS has a scalable organizational structure that is based on the size and complexity of the incident. However, this flexibility does not allow for the modification of the standard common language used to refer to organizational components or positions. We should take a minute to go over the basic structure and elements of the ICS organization. Make sure you can identify these on the org chart as I review them. Command staff report directly to the incident commander, including the public information officer, safety officer, liaison officer, and other positions as required. This does not include the general staff responsible for the sections. A section is the organizational level having responsibility for a major functional area of incident management. These include operations, planning, logistics, finance administration, and in some instances, intelligence and investigations. The section is organizationally situated between the branch and the incident command. A branch is the organizational level having functional or geographical responsibility for major aspects of incident operations. A branch is organizationally situated between the section chief and the division or group in the operations section, and between the section and units in the logistics section. Branches are identified by the use of Roman numerals or by functional area. The division is an organizational level having responsibility for operations within a defined geographic area. The division level is organizationally situated between the strike team and the branch. A group is an organizational subdivision established to divide the incident management structure into functional areas of operation. Groups are located between branches, when activated, and the resources in the operations section. A unit is the organizational element with functional responsibility for a specific incident planning, logistics, or finance administration activity. A task force is any combination of resources assembled to support a specific mission or operational need. All resource elements within a task force must have common communications and a designated leader. A strike team is a set number of resources of the same kind and type that have an established minimum number of personnel, common communications, and a leader. Finally, a single resource is an individual, a piece of equipment and its personnel complement, or a crew or team of individuals with an identified work supervisor that can be used on an incident. Here are some quick examples of single resource, strike team, and task force. A single resource would be an ambulance by itself with its crew, a police officer, or a fire truck and crew. An example of a strike team would be 2 or more ambulances with an identified leader and the ability to talk to each other. To turn this example into a task force, it would need to be an ambulance, a fire truck, and a police car, again with an identified leader and the ability to all talk to each other. So to review, a strike team is multiple resources of the same kind working together, and a task force is multiple resources of different kinds working together. For the remainder of the review material in this section, I would like for you to review the end of Unit 2 in your student manual, and be prepared to discuss some of the roles and responsibilities of each of the command and general staff in class. We will also discuss air operations and intelligence if they pertain to your profession. Also, please review the different supervisory position titles, as well as the job aid that describes deputies, assistants, technical specialists, and agency representatives so that we can discuss them in class.